Hey, this is the Nature Boy Ric Flair, and you're watching Mirror.co.uk. Woo! Woo, 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 woo!
So, Ric Flair, tell us why you're in the UK.
Promoting TNA. Total Non-Stop Action, a new wrestling venture for myself. One that's been around for 7 years, but one that I'm newly involved with.
And we believe there's a big announcement you're here to deliver as well.
Well, I guess the big announcement is that I'm going to wrestle here between the 25th and 30th.
28th and 30th, that's
Yeah,
it.
3 nights.
3 nights, Glasgow, Manchester and London.
And it's the 27th, 28th, and 30th?
28th, 29th, 30th.
28th, 29th, and 30th, yep.
And you're going to be wrestling.
Yes.
That must be quite, that'll be in 2011.
Yep.
So that will be the 4th decade?
5th decade.
5th decade you've wrestled.
70s, 80s, 90s, 2000, well, 4th decade.
There's not many other wrestlers that can claim that as a record, is there?
None.
The Sheik, possibly?
The old Sheik?
Yeah.
I don't know when he started, I'm not sure.
He was still doing some stuff in Japan.
Yeah, but he couldn't wrestle anyway.
Well, no, he couldn't work, but he was stumbling about. But
he could throw fire.
Yeah. Well, occasionally, now and again. So TNA's previous tours over here have done huge business, more than regular business in the US. And of course, you've been over here many times, and one of the, I suppose, most notable appearances on pay-per-view was SummerSlam '92 at Wembley Arena.
Yes.
Which drew over 80,000 people.
Wembley Arena or Stadium, wasn't it? Wembley Stadium.
I think it was the stadium. Yeah, because they closed them down. But
we broke the Rolling Stones record that night.
yeah, there was but over 80. That's one of the largest
Yes.
professional wrestling crowds of all time. Is it a pipe dream to expect that the UK might see a TNA big show like a pay-per-view at any point?
I don't think it's pipe dream at all. I think anything's possible now. I think the growth of the company is going to be phenomenal in the next couple of years, and I think you can expect to see them competing at any level that they have to. I mean, not have to. They'll be able to compete at that level. If they elect to do an outdoor stadium event, they'll be very successful.
Well, the television ratings are sky high for TNA. Since January, they've built on and built on. So it's a dedicated fan base here. So hopefully that might come off then. You've been over here quite a few times, obviously, as I said. Have you ever had any communication problems with our accents over here or our slang? Have you ever been confused when someone's asked you whether your crumpet is knackered or anything like that? Or?
No communication problems at all.
Not just with the ladies, Rick.
Yeah,
I mean, just generally, you know.
In general, no, nothing.
And how do you find out?
And if I did it with someone that isn't from this country, so.
So obviously you're a married man, but
yes.
I'm sure when you've been over here at certain times you haven't been a married man, and you've. How do you find out British women? Is it just bad teeth, or is that just a myth?
No, I think the British women are lovely, and for the most part, very sophisticated, and you know, they're actually they're much shyer than the American girls.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Sophisticated. We must be dating different kinds of women, I think. But, how do you find settling into TNA? You've been there a few months now.
Well, I think it's great. The happiest I've been since 1986.
Really?
Yes.
That's a bold statement, Rick.
Yep.
What is it that's made you so happy?
They're letting me be Ric Flair.
Okay.
And that was a good deal.
How were you prevented from being Ric Flair?
Well, I wasn't prevented from, being the person that had, acquired the respect and the wisdom and all that, certainly of my colleagues, but the WWE just has their own way of doing business, and they set guidelines for the talent, and they pretty much have an idea of how they want the show produced, and when you get a guy like me that's so set in his ways, it's hard to turn it around.
I think you're being very hard on yourself, saying set in your ways. That may have been a different environment for you, but you thrived within that. I'm thinking, just off the top of my head, there was a promo where you were, I think it was 2007, with Carlito, where you accused him of having no heart. And that was a relatively, within the scheme of things, a relatively small program. But that got rave reviews and exceeded its kind of the scope it was given.
Oh, it actually was terrible because that booked me with a match instead of Anderson or Kennedy at WrestleMania. It booked me with Carlito over one promo. but then it didn't come to fruition.
So that
His dad and I are good friends.
yeah.
So I can talk to him like he's a kid.
I was going to ask you later on, but I'll ask now. Are the Puerto Rican crowds the craziest, the wildest that you've ever?
They're not
performed
anymore. They were.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All the island crowds. When I was the first white guy to go to the islands.
Is that
The
right?
champion, yeah. And wrestled as a champion against Carlitos and his dad. And the promotion from Puerto Rico went through all the islands: St. Croix, St. Thomas, St. Martin, all the way down to Aruba and Carousel, and then to Trinidad, which was terrible.
And why was that? Were they unregulated?
Yeah.
Or?
Oh, and Santo Domingo, God, just wild, you know.
They carry a lot of weapons, do they?
No, not that. Just that they, the promoters down there would sell 20,000 seats to a 10,000 seat arena. So you got 10,000 people outside the arena, mad. They turn over your taxi, they break the windows, they believe it.
But you're selling well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You're getting over.
They told me to heat them up. I did.
A little over to boiling point.
Yeah.
And have you experienced where there's been a gun in the crowd or anything like that?
I was in Trinidad when they shot the horses at the mounted police ride to try to break up a crowd. And I saw that in Barbados as well.
And how can you react in a situation like that? You've got to close the show down. And
you're fighting for your life. You really don't think much of it because there's 300 of them in the ring trying to kill you. It was a while back then.
I suppose the only positive is, and it's not much of a positive, is that the crowd really do care, I suppose.
Yeah.
You'll guarantee they come next time as well.
Yeah, we went from the Jean-Pierre complex, which held about 10,000 in Trinidad, to that 35,000 seat stadium.
Yeah.
When I wrestled Jovica the second time. Then I wrestled Brody over there in the big stadium too. So.
Bruiser Brody.
Yeah.
Wow, that's and actually, while you're just talking about Bruiser Brody, I read a great story a couple of years ago that I think you were at an NFL game, possibly not, and his son was in attendance, and somebody pointed him out.
NBA basketball game.
Beg your pardon.
Yeah.
And somebody pointed out, and you obviously hadn't seen him.
I hadn't seen him since he was, 5 years old.
And obviously you were close to Bruiser Brody.
Yeah. As close as someone could be. He kept his distance from everybody. But he and I were, what I would say, were good friends, yeah.
Must have been emotional to see his son all grown up like that.
It was, because it was such a tragic ending to such a fabulous career. Even though he beat to the beat of a different drummer, or whatever the song, he did his own thing. But he was great to work with, obviously a huge celebrity and presence in our business.
And the definition of an independent contractor, I suppose, in these.
Yeah, I mean, he was, tied to Japan. That was his main source of income. And back then, the magazines, the outlets were the only communication between the States and the Japanese crowd. So anything that he did over the United States that was going to get bad publicity for him, he didn't do.
Quite a businessman then.
Yeah. I mean, that was okay back then, because the promoters weren't taking care of us. I don't resent that at all.
Getting back to TNA, when you started up, did you, following your career of the past decade or so, did you expect to be such a central part of the main programs?
And TNA?
Yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't have come if I didn't think it would have been.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was a stipulation. That was part of it.
No, not stipulation. I just knew that if they were going to let me be me, it would be no problem.
Okay. Now that TNA is making the move away from Monday nights in the US, what do you think they should do to distinguish the, or however you want to refer to it, the product, the brand, whichever the marketing buzzword is? What would you like to see to distinguish this as a separate, successful company?
Well, it's going to be successful. It's just a question of awareness. When they went to Monday night, what hurt them was the awareness of the fact that they went. It costs hundreds of thousands of dollars in advertising, and not just on Spike, but you have to go into McMahon's USA Network and advertise there and advertise, all the way across the board. And awareness is very hard to make happen overnight. 6 months from now, TNA will have more awareness. It will have as much awareness as WWE.
This is not a regional program who's 20 years over now. It's all fragmented.
Yeah, I mean, WWE is how many years in the making? 50 years now, 40 years since when did Vince Senior start doing?
Capital Sports goes back about then, isn't it?
In the 50s.
Yeah.
So
fairly or unfairly, and for whatever reason, Hulk Hogan's commitment has frequently been called into question whenever he's signed up to a project over the last decade or so. Is he in for the long haul, do you think?
here?
Yeah.
Oh, most assuredly.
Yeah.
Unless I don't know how his contract reads, and don't begin to understand what he's agreed to do or not to do. But he's committed now.
And Eric Bischoff as well.
Yes.
Because some of the criticisms and just the reports are that the booking seems short-term strategy at the moment, but on a wider level, not individual programs. In this time when there's so much TV programming and so many pay-per-views to sell, how can booking adapt to that, or do you have to fly by the seat of your pants?
Well, I think that the WWE isn't overjudged in that light, but they're in the same situation because talent comes and goes, people get hurt.
Yep.
Programs change overnight, and the reason that we're going to be so successful is that the roster right now at WWE is really, really thin.
Especially at the top of the...
the top guys, and the guys that really draw the money. I mean, Shawn's gone, Undertaker's working part-time, Hunter's making movies. That's three big names. And they have a ton of talent underneath that, don't misunderstand me. But, guys have been hurt for a year at a time. Edge has been hurt a lot and gone. He's back now. Hopefully stays healthy, but his track record has been, he's been injury prone, but and rightfully so with some of the stuff he did when he was younger, with the neck issues and that, so that's going to happen. And it's like Jeff Hardy, Jeff's been through so much physically that he's doing great right now, but something like that can implode tomorrow. You know what I mean? It's just the guys that have done that real high wire stuff, ladder matches and all that, so many times. It takes a toll on your body. It's a lot different.
So is it, in terms of product then, has it got to be a change in style?
No, not at all. I just think that they've changed the WWE. They don't have ladder matches like that all the time. They maybe have one a year now. For a while, they raised that bar so high that it wasn't wrestling. It was, who could jump the highest off a ladder and stuff like that. I mean, and that's good to some extent, but people really, the wrestling fans, I think they like people that can talk, commit, and produce in the ring as well. It's not so much how high a ladder you can climb. It's just entertainment value.
It's very interesting you say that, because you adapted to, I'm thinking of matches where against, was it Big Show or Edge where you had a ladder match?
Edge.
And
I've had two of them.
And also you're in the Money in the Bank match not so long ago. I find
in
that
Chicago,
very And you really adapted to that.
Yeah, I can do that. I have no offense, but I can take the bumps.
Is it always been your philosophy that there's nothing you can't do, or it's just a challenge and you just got to go and do it?
Oh, there's nothing I can't. There's nothing I couldn't do 20 years ago. Now it's not a question of. I can take all the stuff, but I've never had enough experience to put myself in a position to suplex a guy off a ladder. Or not. I mean, I'm all about protecting my opponent. They can do what they want to me, but I don't have the experience. We never did that when I was younger. But yeah. When I was younger, I would have had that mastered. I would have done all that, but it wasn't something we learned.
You did a pretty good job, Rick. You did a pretty bloody good job.
You.
And how do you see your role on screen within TNA developing in the future?
If I keep my health, I'll have an unlimited run. Knock on wood, my health has been the key to my success over the years. Yeah, I love it there. I mean, I'm energized beyond belief. I love it there.
Well, it's been reported that you find working with Jay Lethal an absolute hoot. Were you familiar with his work before you started with TNA? Or indeed, the likes of those closely aligned to you on TV, AJ Styles,
No, didn't know him.
So you're not really a tape watcher or anything like that?
No, I don't even watch myself.
Really?
No.
You never look back on your own performance and think, I could have tweaked that, or that could be...
No.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched the DVDs that McMahon has made, for me, with my retirement DVD and then Flair for whatever it was. I watched those, but I don't I don't go home and watch myself on TV.
No, I suppose that'd be a bit.
I know when I leave the arena what I've done, what I've accomplished.